rescued a couple of canvases, and summoned a cab. Now David was sweet. Now he was pleading. But my face was set. My old nanny would have been proud of my resolve, my chilly courtesy, my restraint. I was London-bound, with my head churning with ideas and my fingers itching for the paintbrush, a free man, so to speak. But a week, 2 weeks, a month later, I would spot him in a gargoyle, his blonde head reflected in the mirrors in the bar, and my heart would stop and then restart to hammer in my ears. The old Greeks were right. Love is a recipe for disaster. Next thing I knew, we'd be cruising around Soho, drinking champagne at the Europa, even, folly unto madness, boarding the train at Waterloo for another edition of Disaster in the Country. In between times, I painted, enjoying the pleasant illusion of freedom and independence, until, despite all my resolutions, I ventured out to David's usual haunts and allowed myself to be drawn in by his looks, his charm, his wit, his talent, all the qualities that comprised the other side of violence running to cruelty and flirting with madness. He was funny. He knew interesting things. He played the piano in a way that, even tone-deaf as I am, I recognized as brilliant. He'd been brave, too. One of the few who'd patrolled the skies for us and taken terrible losses and flown until they were shot down. That gave him a kind of aura. He'd had what most of us haven't, a moment of greatness. But he'd purchased it at a fantastic price, and he was still paying the installments. There was something else, even more subtle and tormenting. David liked me, but he didn't love me. I was too old for his tastes, really, my youthful looks having deceived him. We drank and fought. I left him and came back. I found his indifference intolerable and irresistible. After my night in the cowshed, I held out for 6 weeks. David went off to Tangier, that paradise of slim, dark boys, lacking money or women. Silence for a time. Then he sent me a telegram inviting me, asking me, virtually begging me to visit. Doubtless some beach boy had broken his heart. People who've never been down on their luck rarely appreciate the commercial aspects of the sex trade. I could feel that he was sad, and I was tempted, although I'd promised my gallery new paintings for a show, and I was behind on my work. Virtue prevailed for a while, but when my landlord announced that he was driving from London to Tangier and invited me along, I took it as an omen. Soon we were aboard a Spanish ferry, and the ancient white city loomed against the brilliant African sky and the deeper indigo of the Mediterranean. The stark terraces, blinding and dreamlike in the sun, climbed the hill above the port in fantastic white tiers, and we entered the Medina like brides in a white Rolls-Royce. The crystalline beauty of the city dissolved almost at once. On closer acquaintance, the buildings were battered and in lousy repair, the people thin and worn, the alleys filthy, the drains stinking. The city had a powerful odour, yet my lungs loved the dry air, and once we climbed the mountain, the fancy home of the international community, a refreshing breeze came in from the sea. Palms and eucalyptus and brilliant red and purple blossoms, the Riviera in Africa, with much the same mix of remittance men and gangsters, financiers and smugglers, thieves and paedophiles. Lusty young queers rubbed elbows with society types, old North Africa hands, decayed military men, artists and writers, and even an heiress with jewels as big as pigeons' eggs. Down below in the Arab town were the folk they'd come for, the hard-working Moroccans cheap to hire for kitchens and gardens. The pièce de résistance was the corps of pretty boys who swanned along the beachfront or lived in the brothels or haunted the alleyways. Women, too, if your taste ran that way, though that was strictly behind closed doors.